Okay, here's 2 buckets of blue marl in the very liquid state. This is very fine clay, and of course it's incredibly liquid. I've got to get that water off of there. Okay, it's getting to the point where it's harder and harder to pour the water off without pouring the clay off. So I have a cotton pillowcase in another 5-gallon bucket, and I'm going to transfer this into there. I took my handy dandy mud tool and scraped this bucket, and now I have this much blue marl slip, and it is beautiful, beautiful clay. I mean, silky and lovely. I'm not going to add any additives to this because it's just slip and it's used for binding things together. Here's my makeshift setup, just anything that'll suspend it on a stick. And I've got it dripping into the bucket. You can see it's already got a line there where water's coming through. This will take up to 3 days. It really depends on ambient moisture in the air, how warm it is, things like that. We'll check it back in a day or 2. It has been 5 days, and this is very soft still, but I'm going to put it on this plaster bat to dry out some, letting it sit for today, and then I'll try to work it later today, see what it looks like. I got quite a bit of slip out of the bottom of the bucket. I spread it out a little bit, and you can see it's starting to crack. Look at that. It has released. So it's starting to get workable. Wow. Now, I couldn't have done this a few hours ago. It wouldn't have released from here. It was very sticky. So this is a good sign. I'm going to start wedging it soon. I'm cooking about 3 tablespoons of flour in water for less than a minute after it boils, just to make sort of a glue. It's like a nice thick gravy, really. Just kind of a glue, and I will put a link in the description as to where I got this information about adding starch, flour, to the mix. It's not scientific, I know, folks. This looks like gravy, I know, or mashed potatoes. Unfortunately, I don't have dry clay, I have wet clay, so I couldn't add a lot of water. I needed it to be a sticky paste, and I'm really experimenting here because I used 3 tablespoons. Have no idea if that's going to be enough or not, but you will know when you start using the clay and working with the clay. It will tell you everything. I'm also going to add some sand next. This is how you calculate 1/5 sand. Take 1/4 approximately. This is kind of how I bake too, folks. Very sloppy. Take this 1/4 away, and we're going to add sand in that quadrant and then put it all back together, and that will make it 1/5 sand. Now, technically you are supposed to use silica, but this sand is finer than sugar. Silica is super fine, almost like dust, but this has been great. Now, when you're throwing the clay, it's a little hard on your hands because it's pretty gritty, but there's my flour. Here's my sand. I'm going to mix that in, and then at some point I'm going to add bentonite as well. I'm going to put this quarter back in here and mix all of that together. It's a very messy process, but it's working. All wrapped up in plastic. I'm going to set that aside and then work on the second batch. Here are the first 2 that I did on the wheel. The one on the left has the sand in it, and the one on the right does not. They're very small, and I wanted to do them in a controlled environment, firing them inside these bowls, which were a known clay, so that if they slumped, they would not ruin the kiln shelf. This is the glaze, textured turquoise on the one with sand. And the next one was a mason stain of some sort. It was a green stain, but you'll see it came out weird. This is textured turquoise on the sanded one. I love it. And this is the green stain. Came out looking like red iron oxide. These are my test tiles going forward. I always test to make sure what kind of glazes I want to use. If you are using an unknown clay, you don't know what the glaze is going to do. So here's my latest 2 cups. That small first cup I made and the test tile sample that I chose for this glazing.